Hey everybody, Dr. Val here. I think I'm live. Finally, and what happened to my picture? There it is. So, Dr. Val here. Today is February 16th, and I want to talk a few minutes about what happens when you break a bone. This is my shoulder, unfortunately. This is the long bone in the upper part of your arm, and I broke it in two places at the top, right. They call it a shoulder fracture. Come on, let's see if it changes my brightness there. It's not doing it. It's hard to see because it didn't auto adjust on my phone, but I broke right across the top, all the way across the bone, and then broke through the head of the humerus. That would be from skiing. It was a freak skiing accident that happened 4 weeks ago today. And most of the bruising is gone. Not 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 2 days ago. So I'm 4 weeks and 2 days out, which makes that 30 days. So I did not have to have surgery, managing it conservatively. I don't want any more pins or plates or screws in my body. So I'm going to do a quick series on what you can do if you were to break a bone and what's the process going on, and share some of the therapies that I've been using over this past month and will continue to use, because I've broken bones before. And kind of the explanation is, well, you just sit around and you wait for the bone to heal, and there's not anything you can do. And that's not true. That's one of the amazing backgrounds in understanding functional medicine and understanding root cause of cellular health. And that's a big thing, is how do you enhance your every cell's function in your body, because that means they're going to do their job better. We know there's things that affect that. And that's the perspective that I'm coming from. So I know there's therapies that affect it. I know there's, diet, nutrition, and sleep. All of that stuff really affects how healthy your cells are, and that's going to speed up the healing process. So this has been kind of a journey looking into specifically what is it that helps with cells. So I'm going to do a video on the supplements I'm taking. I'm going to do a video on some of the therapies that I'm using and what the science is behind those therapies. So today I'm just going to give you a quick, in part one, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what's going on when you break a bone. And this is any bone. But you start asking yourself, well, when exactly do bone cells actually start filling in that gap, filling in the space? Because that's a long process, but when does it start? So real quick, let's say you break a bone, any bone. And what happens immediately within hours of that process is so this is as high as I can lift my right hand. Of course, I'm right-handed. I can't eat yet with my right hand, but I can move, contract my biceps here, so I can move this hand up to here for a period of time, but it gets very tiring. Anyway, so that bone breaks, and what you get first is a blood clot that sort of congeals around the pieces of bone. And that's often because of all the muscle trauma and the things. I mean, when you break a bone, you don't just break a bone. All the stuff that's attached along that bone shaft, all the muscle attachments, the ligaments, all the fascia that is holding everything that was around that bone, holding it all in place. Plus there's nerves, there's blood vessels that are running often right along the bone for the muscle groups. They're usually intertwined in the muscle layers as they're running up these little channels that are formed when the layers of muscle lay down together. You have oftentimes nerves and blood vessels running through that. So when you break a bone, depending on how you do it, and none of it is pleasant, whether it's from a car accident or a bike fall or a kid jumping out of a tree, or there's so many things that you can strain the bone, the long way, or you get hit across the bone and it breaks. There's lots of different ways that you just take too much impact and you can end up with a broken bone. But regardless, the surrounding tissue is damaged. It's crushed, it's ripped, it's torn, it's all kinds of things that it's going to have to fix. And so something like a shoulder, you've got lots of muscle groups coming up from your back that are attached to be able to do this, to lift your arm up. There's muscles in your back that pull across here, the rotator cuff muscles that let you literally rotate your shoulder. There's the big deltoid shoulder muscle that lets you lift this arm, out this way. You have all these other muscle groups that let you rotate the arm. So you have all these things that are attached right here, right where I broke it. And when I fell skiing, I fell forward at a rather high rate of speed, where my skis went right straight into the snow, and I fell straight forward. And this arm, this elbow, and this whole side of my forearm hit the snow first. And so what I did, I hit my elbow, and it drove my arm back up. And it's a common break for that kind of fall. And so it broke all the way across when that bone got jammed basically into my shoulder socket. So it wasn't just my shoulder that I hurt. And in fact, most of the pain came down here in this lower part of my arm, and the bone, I didn't break anything else down here, but it was kind of like, just imagine if you were running into a concrete wall like this, everything here hurts. All the bone got seriously bruised. I had just tons of swelling. And of course, I can't move my shoulder. I can't raise my hand up. So the dependent edema from all the swelling from the damage up here sank down here. And so my lower arm was black and blue and swollen and very painful. And it still is quite painful from here. If you tap this bone all the way back to my elbow, it's very painful. That got, injured as well. So there's a lot of surrounding tissue damage. So back to this blood clot issue is when you break a bone, you do have broken blood vessels in the area that are just, bleeding, but your body knows, oh, here's exposed bone. It's not supposed to be exposed. So the body encapsulates it in literally a blood clot to start that process. Just like if you cut your skin, the body knows exposed tissue that's not supposed to be exposed, it covers it up with a scab before you actually start regrowing that new covering of skin under the scab. So the same thing is going on in the body. So that happens within hours and lasts for a few days. And then that blood clot, which is holding everything together, it's very gelatinous, it's not stable. You start getting cartilage cells that will come in and start replacing and holding together between those areas of bone that are not touching. You get cartilage cells that come in, and it starts happening within a few days, and that lasts for a while until those cartilage cells get replaced by bone cells, as the body literally is building a new bridge across these bone pieces that are now separated. The bone cells start showing up at 2 weeks after a break. But that process of bone building and remodeling happens, to 12 weeks out from your accident or whenever that bone broke. So it's a long process. Bone breakage, there's different cells that build bone and different cells that break down bone. And it's part of this bone remodeling. And early on, the bone or the body just builds up bone everywhere, basically where that cartilage was laid down, which is almost everywhere that the blood clot was laid down. So it's kind of like taking all these bits of bone or these two sides of bone and you ensheath it in this blood clot bubble. And then all that gets replaced with cartilage, and then that also gets replaced with bone. So you end up with a bulging area of bone. It doesn't look like the original bone, but the body's like, okay, I'm just going to build it up. We're going to put on extra, think of it as like modeling clay. We're just going to slap lots of extra building material around this. And then the remodeling part that happens, months after the break is the body starts breaking, filing down, taking away the stuff that it doesn't need. So you're not left with this bone, big bulge, more bone. So it starts breaking down the bone that it built. So it builds extra, it slaps on lots of extra building hard material. And then it says, okay, now let's actually try to remake this bone the shape that it needs to be. So it files down, literally, it breaks down those extra bone cells. So that's a whole remodeling process. So the bone cells get activated at different times where first, initially it's just bone building. We need all hands on deck, just slap lots of cells of bone tissue down and get this stabilized. So that starts happening at 2 weeks. And I certainly noticed a big change at 2 weeks where it was like, wow, it actually feels more stable. And I don't know how else to describe it. Because I didn't have a cast, when you have a shoulder fracture like this, you often don't need a cast. Gravity itself will hold this in place. I have been wearing a shoulder immobilizer, which is a strap that goes around my waist, basically, and it has Velcro to hold my arm at the elbow, right to my side, and then another strap for my wrist that's held in front of me like on my stomach. And when you wear that, I can't move my shoulder. So the most dangerous part early on was, it was far more dangerous having somebody come up and bump it or me run into a wall or something, because this is open and totally unprotected. But I did not, like, my nightmare was tripping and falling downstairs. I don't have any way to catch myself if I run into this, if somebody bumps it, And is this still painful? Yeah. And it's mostly the soft tissue now, where just lots of damage happened, and all the muscle attachments that come across here and across from the back and all these things, that's what hurts now. There's tender spots where the tendons are attaching, and all this stuff is trying to form, but the body's priority is let's start forming the bone before it starts repairing some of these tendons and attachments of the muscle to the bone. It has to fix the bone first. And so you end up with a lot of soft tissue pain after the fact. But so my shoulder is just open to everything. And I still wear that immobilizer at night and many times throughout the day, or if I'm out and about. But now I'm to the point where I'm 4 weeks out. So I will let my arm just hang and kind of swing a little as I'm walking. This has been a gradual thing to get where I am now. I still have extremely limited ability. I can't drive. I can't eat with that hand. I have very little leverage. So if I'm eating with this hand, I can't really cut. If I have a piece of meat or something that I have to cut with a knife, I can't do it because I don't have any leverage on pushing down with this arm yet. My triceps are still amazingly painful. So I can't push down with this hand very much. So this is a process, but every week, even every day, it's getting a little bit better and a little bit better. So all that to say is there's a whole lot of repair mechanism that's going on when you break a bone, not just to the bone, but all of the tendons, the fascia, the nerves, the blood vessels, all of the bony attachments, the ligaments, just all kinds of things are also repairing. So this is it's a long process, but knowing what I know, that you can affect the health of the cell, there's a lot of things that you can do in the meantime. So I have broken bones before, and it's like, well, you just sit around and you wait for them to heal. And there's nothing really that you can do about it. Just don't overdo it. Don't push this or that. Keep your mobility when you can start moving that area again. It's not, that's not the line that I believe anymore, because there are absolutely things that you can do. I mentioned sleep and diet and nutrition. If your body, you have a lot of inflammation from all the tissue damage. So there are a lot of things in diet that can amplify your pain, because they're magnifying that inflammatory process. So there are inflammatory foods, namely sugar, processed carbs, wheat. Anything that breaks down quickly into sugar is extremely inflammatory. And we know that that has immediate effects on your pain receptors when you magnify all that inflammation. So if you already have an area that's inflamed, and that could be chronic inflammation, the same, it's fuel to the same fire. So if you have arthritis or something, the same goes for that. You change your diet to a non-inflammatory diet, and it cuts way, way, way down on those just inflammatory molecules and cytokines that are circulating, because you're not eating as much. So just changing your diet has a huge effect on pain from inflammation. So yes, the local inflammation is still going on in an area with all that damage, but talk about how you're able to sleep through the night, or the throbbing pain, when you're eating a lot of inflammatory foods, makes a huge difference. So, one of the first rules is listen to your body. When I broke my arm, I had no appetite for days. So do you think I ate? No. I ate one meal a day usually. But I was not hungry. Listen to your body. All of your body's energy when you have a big injury like that is going towards repair. If you start eating, you're pulling all of the energy and stuff. Okay, I have to take all this food, break it down, store it, burn it, do something with it. It takes body's energy, cellular energy away when you have to stop and store food. This is the premise behind the benefits of intermittent fasting and even block fasting. So with intermittent fasting, one of the things that I'll mention, so if you're 16 hours out, so let's say you didn't eat all night and you eat late in the day, or you eat one meal, you're 16 hours out, you have a growth hormone spike that starts happening. You get growth hormone release. You want growth hormone when you have massive repair to be happening. Growth hormone stimulates bone growth. It stimulates cartilage growth. It stimulates skin repair. So growth hormone is a huge plus. So if you have a big injury like that, listen to your body, because your body will say, I'm not hungry. There's a reason, because your body is trying to focus on healing and putting all of its energy towards, taking care of those, putting out the immediate fires, so to speak. So listen to your body. So right off the bat, I was doing intermittent fasting every day. And then within the first week, within the first 2 weeks, I did a couple 2 and 3 day fasts. I could have done longer. I just wasn't very hungry. And when you start block fasting like that, not only is it massively increasing growth hormone to stimulate all of the repair mechanisms that are going on, but it's also decreasing all the inflammation. So I had less pain when I was fasting. Even just eating one meal a day, it was like, yeah, things are more achy, more swollen, more everything. And when I would fast, just do a water fast for a couple of days, the pain was, oh, this is not bad at all. It makes a really, really big difference. So there's a couple reasons early on to fast after you've had a big injury. And for continued healing, even down the road, generally I'm still intermittent fasting. I'm eating one meal or not eating till very late in the day, late in the afternoon, and then dinner. But typically I might eat twice a day, and that's it. But the later in the day you can get that, the more effect you have on that overwhelming inflammation. So you need inflammation because those are the markers that call in all of the cells to come clean up the damage, all the macrophages, and you need that local inflammation. But it doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be overwhelming inflammation, and your body's able to deal with the pain better, and you don't get as much swelling, and you get better tissue repair and all this. So, non-inflammatory diet, keep it real low carb, stay in ketosis if you can. If you're not aware of that, check out my other videos on ketosis and low carb. And then fasting, huge boost to any healing process, especially bone health, because of the release of the growth hormone. So those are some things that you can do early on that are amazing, benefits, and just listening to your body. But that process is of listening to your body through a healing like this. It's going to take months. That's really important. And we've gotten away from that. You just kind of, the doctor says this, or the physical therapist says this, and so this is what I'm doing. But listen to your body. You know your body more than anything else. So just wanted to share some of those early things that you can do. I also started on a number of things right off the bat, started looking up some different therapies. I'll go into that in some future videos. I just wanted to share this today. So if you have recently broken a bone or, know somebody who has, share this. They might find this series as I go through it helpful. But you don't have to sit around and wait for your arm to heal. You are not a passive observer in this process. The ability for you to affect your cellular health is 100% real, and you need to get some power back to be empowered to take back your health. So that's what I'm hoping that these videos will show. If you have questions, message me. And check out my other videos on my YouTube channel or my website, abundantliferestored.com. Sign up for my newsletter. I'm doing a once a week on Fridays. I'm doing a once a week health news update where I look at the headlines of news that are pertaining to your health. I only send that out to my email subscribers right now. Those videos are not anywhere else. It's a new thing that I'm very excited about. So check that out. And hope everybody has an awesome day. I'll be back with part 2 tomorrow. And I'll look at the supplements that enhance bone healing specifically that I've been taking, and a little bit about that. So that's all I want to share today. Have an awesome day. Talk to you later.